What's going on YouTube? My name is Mr. Crippled, and today I'm going to bring you my Mercury guide. Before I get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have to keep up with any future content, I will be leaving my link to my Twitch and my Discord in the description below. Now, I think Mercury is a very good god. I think he's A tier. He could be top tier, a little bit more time in practice. He could be essentially S tier. But right now, I think he's A because he does have three glaring weaknesses for me. The first one being is that he can't build movement speed items on his own without his passive. And you could argue like Tekokaji, Erendite, but Erendite is an active, so he's not always gonna be able to use that item. And Tekokaji is kind of a waste of a card for him. So I think what they could do to help alleviate that so he can actually have movement speed towards his passive is give him a special item like boots that he can use on his own. And depending on the type of boots that he gets, gives him different benefits. Like one gives him more crit, one that gives him more power, one gives him more movement speed to show which one you want to build more towards it so he can switch up his builds every once in a while. Or maybe one gives more pen. I don't know. Something like that. Another glaring weakness that I think that Mercury has, which a lot of people won't really agree with me on, is that he is a very late game god. And what late game means is that the early game, you're basically going to be ran through. You're not really going to be trying to take too many engagements unless you're absolutely sure you can kill. And you're going to be playing for late game, and you're going to be playing for like the 20 to 25 minute mark to where you're basically one-shotting people or creating people so hard or hitting them so hard that they don't really have enough time to react to you. And why I think it's a weakness in Mercury's case is because unlike other late game gods, he doesn't really have a lot to make him super scary in the early game besides the 3. And the 3 is easily outplayable because he does have to put himself in a bad position to use it. So you still have to be careful with your engagements, unlike other gods like Scylla, who had the ability to be super safe while also still doing a pretty decent amount of damage and still having other utility items. Or somebody like Merlin, who has a million abilities he can throw at you and stay under tower until he gets all the cards that he needs to really be a threat. Mercury doesn't have that option. He is an all-in god that has to play in for the late game. So that to me makes him not only a little bit more difficult to play, but also makes it to where you're not really allowed to make a lot of mistakes with Mercury. You miss a farming opportunity and the other person gets ahead of you, you're screwed. You try to go for an engagement and you die before getting an assist or a kill, you're screwed. So, and it's really hard for him to catch back up unless he AFK farms, and AFK farming as a jungler can be very detrimental. However, he still hits extremely hard. He does come in with a lot of unique things that were different from Smite 1. For example, the biggest change is his 1. Now, not only can it crit, but it can also proc item effects. So, as you can see to my left, or on my build, I have Hydras and Rage. If you get lucky enough to crit with your 1, it can also proc the Hydras at the exact same time, making your 1 hit for ability damage and as a crit. So, it can hit pretty hard. Not crazy hard like 1,000 like an ability-based person, but it can still crit for maybe, I've seen between like 5 to 700, which is still a really big chunk for somebody who's also going to be in your face critting you for 7 to 800 per auto. Another thing that he gets now that's different from Smite 1 is that the 3 you can cancel now in the middle of the spinning animation to throw them instantly. So if you use it normally, you can see it does all that, and then you throw them. If you cancel it early, you can throw them earlier. That way you can reposition them a lot quicker, and you don't really need to worry about putting yourself in an out-of-position spot for too long. So, lots of good changes. Another good thing, too, is that his ultimate, if you didn't know, will do more damage depending on how long you charge it, not distance. So, if you fully charge it, but your ult is right here, it will still do full damage. And if you do use it, after you use it, you get 40% movement speed, which will give you a huge boost in damage. So, a lot of good things changing for him, and still very fun god to play. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the build. Now, as you can see, this is going to be your basic bread and butter starter. You're going to get Bumba Spear every single time because you're going to need the attack speed. You can argue Bumba's Cudgel because Bumba's Cudgel's proc with Hydra's proc with a crit proc would in theory do a lot of damage, but you're going to be sacrificing a lot of attack speed, And unfortunately, Mercury is a god that you're going to need a little bit of attack speed to get the most benefit out of him. And just having your 2 alone is not going to really do that much. So Bummer Spear is definitely the way to go every single time. Rage is a must on him. Get it as early as possible. You want to stack this as early as possible because, again, this is a late game god. So if you're having this is a late game item, you're going to want to get this as early as possible so you can crit as often as possible. And then Hydra's Lament, obviously, because it will give you the ability to not have to only rely on your auto attacks to do damage, because then you can start hitting abilities and get more benefit off of that. So whenever you're engaging, you dash in, you get a Hydra's proc right there, you pop your 2, you get another Hydra's proc, you pop your 1, you get another Hydra's proc. So a lot of stuff happening, and then obviously with the ult, if you ult properly, you'll get another Hydra's proc off of that, getting a lot of damage as much as early game damage as possible. And then up next is kind of up to you. I have 2 different items. If you want your Chris to hit as hard as possible early, get Deathbringer next. This is probably going to be your most common item that you're going to be building. And then if not, and you want something to build a little bit towards your passive, instead you can go Musashi's Dual Swords. Both of these cards are going to be staples in your build anyway, because obviously more crit chance. And then Musashi's Dual Swords, whenever you crit, you gain 10% movement speed. So this is actually going to help buff your damage as well. And then, obviously, after that, you want to get Deathbringer. Your last 2 cards are going to be kind of up to you. One card in particular that I always recommend building, no matter what, at this point, is Titan's Bane. Titan's Bane is going to be your only pen item, and it's going to be very important for you to help you deal with tanks. Plus, Titan's Bane will help you hit way, way harder with your 1 if you get lucky enough to proc a crit on it. And then tanks, even though they're probably more than likely going to be building Spectral against you, you're still the pen will actually help you deal more damage anyway through the Spectral. So even though you're not going to be critting as hard, you're still going to be getting through their defenses, and so in turn hitting them just as hard. Your last card is a flex spot. A lot of people here would either recommend Dagger of Frenzy, and you get that earlier. That way you can pop this, and your crit is going to be hitting a lot harder. Plus, the Dagger of Frenzy will also proc off your 1. You could also go, another card that I recommend that I mentioned earlier is Erendite, because this does give you cooldown, it gives you strength. And then if you pop Erendite on somebody before ulting them, you're going to get a huge movement speed boost. As you can see, an extra 102 power. It's kind of insane. But that does take a lot of setup, and the moment you pop this, you have to basically be charging your ult at the same time to get the maximum benefit. But as you can see, you're going to be hitting really, really hard with Erendite. But if you're not confident in using the Erendite tech, you can just go Dagger of Frenzy, and then just pop this early before an engagement. And then once you get the chance to ult them, your Dagger of Frenzy should already be popped, stunned, and you can still hit them for 1,000,000 damage. Completely up to you what you want to do from there. Now what was it? Now, what I did want to show you guys is what the Hydra's proc would look like on the 1 with and without it. That way you can see that the card is worth it. So let's say you didn't go Hydra's, and instead, to really capitalize on crit, which most people will do, you went Wind Demon, right? So Dagger of Frenzy. Let's see if it crits. Let's hope. That's 589, which is still a respectable amount. But most people are probably going to kill you before you even get the chance to get that. Now, let's go ahead and see what that looks like with a Hydra's proc. So now, again, Dagger of Frenzy, make sure that's going. Will be crit. 785. That's a whole 200 damage difference. That's a very big damage difference. So, get your Hydra's procs every single time. Plus, the extra damage off your Hydra's is going to be more beneficial for you anyway. Because even if you don't crit, you're still going to be hitting for 1,000,000. So no matter what, always build Hydra's on this god. Let me know what you guys think about this build, or let me know what you guys think about this guide. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching, and y'all take care.